On a rainy Thursday evening when success meant nothing, and loneliness echoed louder than the storm outside, Ethan Graves, one of the most powerful CEOs in the city, sat alone in a quiet corner of an almost empty restaurant, waiting for someone who was never going to come. He tapped his fingers against the polished wooden table, checkered with reflections of dim yellow bulbs, while the rain outside traced trembling rivers down the glass. His expensive suit, tailored to perfection, felt heavier tonight. His watch, gold and cold against his wrist, kept counting the minutes that stretched too long, too silent. He wasn't used to waiting. The world usually waited for him, but tonight, his world was late. Or perhaps he was simply in the wrong place. His phone lay silent on the table. No messages, no calls, only the faint glow of the screen each time he checked or hoped. He stared at the door every few seconds, expecting her, the woman who had left him abruptly 3 months ago, the woman he had hurt with careless words, with work that always came first, with promises broken in the name of ambition. Tonight was supposed to be reconciliation. Tonight was supposed to be hope. And yet, with each passing minute, something inside him loosened, cracked, and fell apart like wet paper. The restaurant was closing soon, chairs already being stacked at the far end. The waiter, young and tired, kept giving him sympathetic glances. Still Ethan waited, stubbornly, painfully, because admitting she wouldn't come meant admitting he was alone. He took a long breath, shaky, uneven, wondering how a man who owned skyscrapers, manufacturing units across continents, and a reputation feared by thousands could feel like a child abandoned in a rainstorm. If you believe in unexpected kindness, second chances, and the power of strangers to change lives, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This story deserves to be heard. Minutes blended into nearly an hour. The restaurant clock ticked with a patience he didn't have. Outside, people hurried beneath umbrellas while cars hissed across wet asphalt. Inside, silence wrapped itself around Ethan like cold hands. He finally stood to leave, accepting defeat with the weight of a fallen king. Just as he reached for his coat, a soft voice from another table murmured something about forgotten umbrellas, and he turned instinctively. A woman sat alone beneath the warm light, simple beige sweater, hair loosely tied, glasses slipping slightly along the ridge of her nose as she scribbled into a notebook. She didn't notice him staring. Her face glowed with gentle fatigue, a teacher's exhaustion, the kind born from giving more than she received. She looked like the opposite of his world, warm where his was steel, tender where his was sharp. Her notebook fell, and papers fluttered across the floor like white birds. Ethan stepped forward and helped gather them, hands brushing ink-stained corners, lesson plans, children's essays with tiny handwriting praising her. Tears, quiet and unnoticed, tracked down her cheek as she thanked him. He wasn't sure why he sat down across from her. Maybe because kindness felt unfamiliar and he needed it. Maybe because she looked like someone who wouldn't leave. Maybe because for the first time in years, he wanted to listen instead of command. Her name was Mira, a school teacher, barely earning enough to survive, yet giving everything she had to children who needed more love than the world could spare. She wasn't waiting for anyone that night. She was simply there because it was quiet, warm, and she liked to grade papers without interruption. As they talked, the rain softened outside, as if the world leaned closer just to hear them. Mira didn't recognize him, not the billionaire whose face filled business magazines, not the CEO whose voice decided futures. To her, he was just a man with tired eyes. And strangely, that was exactly what he needed. He told her he had been waiting for someone who didn't show up. He didn't explain the relationship or the mistakes that led to tonight, but he didn't have to. She understood hurt the way teachers understand children. They read between lines. Mira spoke of her students, of the ones who came hungry, the ones who cried quietly during recess because home wasn't safe, the ones who smiled despite having nothing. She spoke without bitterness, only hope. Hope Ethan had forgotten existed. Hours passed unnoticed. Ethan found himself laughing, not politely but genuinely, like rusted machinery finally moving again. Mira listened, not for advantage, not for networking, but because she cared. And he realized something powerful. He had built an empire, yet forgotten how to be human. When the restaurant finally closed, Mira stood to leave, gathering her papers with gentle hands. Ethan walked her to the door, holding an umbrella above her as the rain softened into mist. For the first time in months, he felt lighter. But when she thanked him and began walking away, something inside him panicked, like losing something fragile, something new, something necessary. Without thinking, he asked if they could meet again. Mira smiled, a slow, warm curve, and said yes. Days turned into weeks, and their meetings became quiet rituals. Coffee shops, library steps, school corridors where children waved at Ethan as if he were just another visitor, not a giant in the corporate world. Mira showed him a life without board meetings or marble offices, a life where joy hid in small things like children's laughter, chalk dust, and paper cranes hanging from classroom ceilings. She taught him kindness not through lessons, but through example. She gave without expecting. She lived without needing applause. And Ethan began transforming. He visited her school and saw broken desks, cracked walls, a playground that was more dirt than grass. Something in him burned, not anger, but responsibility. A man with more than he needed had stumbled upon people, with less than they deserved. One evening, he stayed long after the children left. He repaired chairs, rewired lights, scrubbed paint from walls. His hands blistered. His suit got stained. But for once, he felt proud not for what he owned, but for what he gave. Mira found him there, covered in dust and effort instead of wealth, and she smiled in a way that reached deeper than gratitude. In that moment, Ethan realized he did not want to go back to who he was. He did not want to be a king of empty castles. He wanted to build gardens instead. He sponsored new books for the school, built a library, renovated classrooms, and established scholarships for children with dreams bigger than their circumstances. The media eventually found out, and headlines exploded. The ruthless CEO turned philanthropist, they wrote. But Ethan didn't care for titles anymore. His heart had found new currency: kindness, connection, purpose. While his company flourished under softer leadership, his heart healed under Mira's gentle presence. He learned to apologize, to listen, to forgive himself. But life, as always, tests tenderness. One night, as he prepared to meet Mira for dinner, he received a message from the woman who'd broken him months earlier, the one he once waited for, lost in a restaurant where love never returned. She wrote that she was ready to talk, ready to come back. Old wounds shivered awake. He sat with the message in silence, torn between past and present. His heart, fragile but alive, feared choosing wrong again. Rain fell outside, like the night he first met Mira, and memories collided like waves. He could go back to what he knew: wealth, status, predictable coldness. Or he could walk towards something new, something that asked him to feel rather than conquer. The decision carved itself slowly, painfully, honestly. He deleted the message, and he left for Mira. He found her sitting once again with papers scattered, ink on her hands, eyes soft in lamplight. When she looked up, he saw the answer he had chosen reflected in her smile. Not perfection, not absence of struggle, but hope. Years passed like whispered stories. The school grew into a place of dreams, with bright walls, full shelves, and children who ran like sunlight across corridors that once echoed emptiness. Ethan visited often, sleeves rolled, shoes muddy, heart full. Mira continued teaching with the same gentle fire, shaping futures one small soul at a time. And one morning, under the same sky where rain once felt like sorrow, Ethan took Mira's hands in his, not as a CEO, not as a broken man, but as someone healed by unexpected kindness. He thanked her for sitting down that night, for choosing to speak when silence weighed heavy, for teaching him what success truly means. That evening, they returned to the restaurant where it all began. It wasn't fancy, it wasn't grand, but it was theirs. They sat at the same table, beneath the same lights, though now they glowed warmer. And Ethan realized something monumental. He had been waiting at the wrong place that night. Not just the wrong restaurant, but the wrong life. Until a teacher sat down and changed everything. If this story touched your heart even a little, if you believe that kindness can rewrite destinies, that strangers can become salvation, that broken hearts can bloom again, please don't scroll away quietly. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let this story reach someone who needs hope tonight. Before you leave, I have a special request. Comment kindness changes everything if you felt the transformation in this journey. Thank you for reading. May kindness find you in unexpected places, just as it found Ethan.